Well, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the show. This is going to be episode 2. Welcome again, Gene. Anything interesting this week that we need to know about?
Um, I think you pretty well got it all covered, man. I don't know how much you put out there, but we'll talk about the native national tournament that New Mexico can get in. And then I don't know, I think you pretty well got the headlines covered.
All right. I just so happen that we do have a schedule for this event. So it sounds like, I spoke to Matt a couple days ago, and I guess they had reached out to Matt, and Matt is the one that kind of faced some of the intentions of us getting involved. So this is an online national tournament. These are the lakes that are involved within this tournament. So it looks like we get the choice of Elephant Butte or Conscious Lake here in New Mexico to fish for this.
Yeah.
Nationally, do you think we have the fish that can produce for this tournament?
Yeah. Do we know what the minimum size is? Is it 12 or 14 inches for those guys?
So when we did the one at Fork, it was 14 inches. I would have to look into that, get with Matt. Maybe he'll have some more info on that.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely because I mean it's big bass by the hour. Obviously, you're competing with states that are gonna have some that are known for having big bass, but it's also an overall length. So if you go out to one of the lakes and you catch a couple 100 inches in a day, I think they're gonna have a lot of people enter this, and so I think they're gonna have a lot of payout spots.
Yeah. It looks like they have some sponsors as well that they're going to attend to this. So it's $130 entry fee, it's a one-day tournament, May 3rd. Like I said, Conscious Lake and Elephant Butte. It's a no limit, so most inches win. So you go to Conscious and they allow 12 inches, you can fucking 12 inch their ass to death.
Yeah, and I think they do a big bass on the hour, right?
Yes, I do believe so.
And then they do an overall at the end of the tournament. There's an overall for however longest length caught. Yeah.
If you notice up here, it's kind of hard to see, but they are doing a Titan kayak giveaway as well to the.
It's a good way to get in a national tournament, without leaving the state of New Mexico.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I have added to the list. I had a blast fishing at Fork. Didn't do very well, but you guys put on a great event.
Yeah, and if we get any guys from New Mexico that do get in it, I'd be interested, maybe get some of the top finishers and just see where they, how they caught them.
Their payouts are pretty good as well. On a $130 entry, at 100 anglers, you're going out for $1,000 playing down.
Yeah, I think, man, they're probably going to have over 1,000, to be honest. Because if we could get 200 at a Lake Fork event, I mean, a national event, they're going to have a lot of anglers.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was like 230 or something there at Fork. And I do believe, I did look last night. This tournament is already available to sign up for Tourney X. So if you haven't done so, do that. Be ready for it, and maybe we can get some of our New Mexico guys.
Yeah, and if anybody's got any questions about it, you can always hit us up on Facebook or Chris or even on here to kind of walk you through that whole process. We've done it. I've fished it a couple times. I've been part of it a couple times. So
yeah, I like it. Then they have those extra bonus ones that they give away, like $250 gift cards. That's what the sponsors are for. That's not what I wanted.
Is that Caden? How's Caden popping up on here?
Yeah, I was working on the video for the expo. But if you notice here, hour one, they're going to give you a $250 gift card to Crush City, which is pretty fire. Same with, going down through the hours, you got 13 Fishing, RoboHawk, Duckett, Newport. I'm not sure what they're giving for Newport. I think it's just a straight gift card. You can use it however you need to through their website. Um, but yeah, add that to your list. We're going to continue on down the list here. So last week, Gene, we were talking about different options and outlets that our New Mexico anglers had to fish in New Mexico. And we tiptoed on the Bass Nation, but we kind of did an oversight on one that has been ongoing for the last 10 years that we completely forgot about. And that's going to be the Zia Kayak tournament.
Mm.
And so to get a little clarification on both Bass Nation and Zia Kayak, let's welcome to our room, Matt Ramey. Matt, welcome, buddy.
What's up, fellas? How are y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad you could make it tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to see y'all doing this. So it's pretty cool for something New Mexico resource. So I like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on. So there was a little bit of confusion last week. We were speaking about the roll downs and whatnot between national and state. Can we get a little clarification on? So if he was to qualify via national, what are the spots for that? Then does that put any New Mexico State angler through your series at jeopardy of losing a spot?
Um, so breaking out like the national trail versus like state trails specifically, like you want to focus on those separately. Like for Gene and yourself or Anthony or anybody else, like Sean's already made two Bassmaster events on the national side. Say he were to make that top 50 cut, I believe it is. It might have moved up a little bit on AOY. Pretty sure it's still 50, but for anybody that qualifies through them, that then in turn allows us to roll down spots within our own state. So the traditional Bassmaster rules state that top 10% through your or your state championship qualify for the national event the following year. Um, the one caveat to that is it's a no roll down option. So the qualifying anglers have to go. And if they don't go, we just lose the spots. So um, from their 2024 trail season, which Anthony Barrera and Matt DeLeon are the qualifying spots. So we had two last year because it's 10% of your total field from your state championship. So all of us looking to go get that national access through that is easier because it gives more spots to us internally in our own state. And you also have the option to place nationally, so it's not just AOY. But if you get in the top, I think 10% or they did something different. But qualifying, you get to have a spot automatically. So hopefully, one of us can get, a couple of us can get through at Oklahoma or Toledo Bend later this year. Which Oklahoma's on my radar, but Toledo Bend is definitely a must.
Yeah, me and Sean talked on the phone last night. We're thinking about making the trek to Del Hollow and Toledo, and possibly 10 Killer.
To
Try to
10
make
kill.
make those three for a jump.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Sean, and I was like, "Man, you just got to hit a few more because you really just don't know how AOY is going to shake out with that little bit smaller schedule for them, and moving one to the out west that hurts some of those other guys already. So hopefully Sean can see it through.
Yeah. I do believe with your schedule, does the national and your schedule overlap on any tournaments? Like if somebody was dedicated to your series for the state, is there any events that they have to consider? Like, oh, if I want to try national, do they overlap?
I don't believe there is any overlap. I know Bassmaster was the last schedule I waited on before I released anything publicly on the schedule. We overlap with a couple of our West Texas events in the state trail, and um, yeah, I think that's generally kind of where we fall. But nationally, we don't overlap with anything.
Okay. If I was a new angler coming in, just I went down to the old Tractor Supply, got me a $200 kayak, got me a life vest, a whistle, and a catch board. Um, how would I get in touch with New Mexico Bass Nation Series to become a starter angler?
So just getting started, or someone that is even been around but wants to start competing at a tournament level, there's a few ways. Facebook is kind of our main channel, our resource, I would say. So follow the New Mexico Bass Nation Kayak Series page. We also do have an actual website affiliation with New Mexico Bass Nation. If you click on or go to that tab, uh, there's a kayak section. So you can click on that. That'll give you some generalized information. I will say I'm in the process of updating that. I don't control it. I'm just a piece of it. So I kind of have to funnel pieces in as we go. And then just reaching out to me directly. That's adding me, messaging me, or utilizing our judging application, which is TourneyX. So each event's already posted on TourneyX for the 2025 season. Looking at the broader view, we have 7 events this year. Excuse me. One of those events is, well, 2 events are in West Texas this year. So we did expand a little bit. We went out west to West Texas. Um, that is also to be something. So yeah, I'll mention that in a second. But start off the year at Santa Rosa, and then we end up at West Texas. Sorry, I have to look a little closer at the screen because my eyeballs are terrible.
No
Um,
worries.
but the West Texas event, that's just something great for information that we're doing here. The OHIV event is Friday, so to accommodate a double dip opportunity on Saturday. So we're having a New Mexico Bass Nation event on Friday at OHIV. And then what we're doing is we're following in line with the West Texas Kayak series. They're having a Colorado City Roadrunner. It's a combination of 5 lakes, and we're mirroring their rules and their lakes as well. So for that West Texas event, basically we get to follow their stuff but fish all 5 lakes, and it's a great opportunity for both of us to connect with them and them with us and vice versa. So the Texas guys can come into our side and we can go into their side for a double dip, making the trip a little bit easier as you're fishing 3 events in that one day. Um, then
And
running down into Elephant. Go ahead.
I was going to say OHIV, that is out of one of their 5 lakes, or is that separate from what they're trying to run?
That's separate. So the only rule that I had in the general discussion with West Texas is that we didn't fish one of the 5 lakes for the Roadrunner on Friday. So we put out a poll for those lakes that weren't included, and OHIV was the winning poll.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what we did, and I think the OHIV factor is just real as can be. We have a lot of friends and people over in that part of the world that see OHIV and what success it's had in the last few years. Just been tremendous. And honestly, if you're talking about a remote lake in West Texas, that's the best one you can go to. It has accommodations, it has a great restaurant, friendly people, a lot of water to fish. So, and it's pretty close to home, honestly. I feel like when I go to OHIV, we're fishing like an upgraded Conscious or Ute, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They seem very similar to me. So.
Yeah. Maybe
Matt,
we can get some people together and maybe make this a convoy system.
would you say so? I mean, obviously, you've competed nationally, you've even won nationally. Would you say that fishing some of those West Texas events, because I know you do, would you say that it's helped you nationally learning, flipping and pitching, say at Ivy?
Without a doubt. I mean, your technique changes a little bit. I definitely think the West Texas diversity gets you out of your comfort level. I mean, for anybody that travels to West Texas, I mean, if you fish at JB Thomas, you're fishing chocolate milk. You go to OHIV and you go up the river in the concho, you can see 25 feet. You can see every pebble in the concho. Very similar to what you guys experienced at like Havasu or something like that. So then you go to just general tannic green, algae lakes, looking out lakes, and I think it helps. I mean, anything that you're not in your comfort zone is going to be the way to go. And New Mexico stacks up very similarly across the board. I feel like that's something that
Yeah.
we don't experience, right? I can go to Conchas, Ute, Santa Rosa, Fort Sumner, and I have about the same water quality and the same habitat. It never varies from that. So I feel like that would help people quite a bit. And then The only difference between West Texas and other places you go is if it's got grass or not. That's where your technique changes
Yeah,
slightly.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and the fish size a little bit. I kind of like
Yeah,
going down there.
Yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
get into a better fishery, of course.
yeah. I mean, cracking 102 inches in the national tournament is definitely a bonus. I've never cracked 100 anywhere else, so yeah, it's definitely helps when you're in Texas.
Come fish one of my events. You get 2 days to collect it.
Still ain't cracking 100.
If you crack 100 New Mexico, I will personally buy you a fucking WWE belt.
All right, well, you got it, buddy.
It's live. It's recorded, so you got proof.
I got it. So I think that's a
So
great one for us.
I do have a question. I know we were kind of going to the schedule. I see that you have a team tournament.
We do, yeah. I know we were talking about this a little bit, Gene, over the last week. Ideally, we wanted to mix it up a little bit. So the team tournament will be a qualifier. So that's going to be a 1 day. Logistically, like you mentioned, Gene, I think 5 fish makes the most sense for a team event. Um, Working in some of those requirements I want, but logistically, we're still kind of working that out. I do know associating with that event, we're just having an end of the year bash, we'll call it. So cookout, hang out on that Friday night, camaraderie, team building, close out the season, and then finish it with a fun event for team stuff. It will be random draw. We've done selected teams in the past, and that was we don't really condone that too much. I guess we want to make it random. Try to get the teams to work out the best. There will be a stacked team in there, but I think it's going to be the fairest odds and good camaraderie. So you might be able to get with somebody and teach them something, or teach them a technique that's on, or something along those lines, and maybe someone will benefit from that more than just a traditional tournament where we kind of keep some secrets to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Tourney X have that feature, or is that something that you and whoever's judging are going to have to kind of figure out?
So once we do a random draw on the teams, I will manually enter the teams into Tourney X. It does have the feature. The one thing we have to figure out is if we do the logistics where each member must contribute. That is not a feature inside the Tourney X application. So
Okay.
um, if it comes down to it where that's not doable, we'll probably just run the 5 fish team limit, just to make it simple, because I don't want to have to be a director and fact check
Right.
everybody's stuff at the end of the day. I want it to be fun and streamlined. So
Yeah. Well, if you do it yourself, if one or two anglers is having a bad day and one angler's killing it, that team's not going to drop to the bottom because that one guy wasn't able to put a good fish in the boat. Because regardless, you're still a team. You're both are doing the same thing. You know what I mean? It kind of sucks that one guy carried the other, but sometimes it happens. You know what I mean?
that's part of fishing. So, um, yeah, definitely have that. And then outside of that, really the other one that Chris mentioned today was the Elephant Butte. So that's going to be the Zia and a Nation event. It's a double dip opportunity. We did that last year. Had a little confusion, but it's streamlining because I mean, a lot of us that fish nationally, we kind of understand that double dip opportunity because all the local trails jump in on them. It gets their attendance numbers up, bigger pots. So that's something we do pretty much everywhere we go. Um, and same feature now for the West Texas event and the Elephant Butte event, right? So it's the Zia is that Saturday, that May 17th, or I think it's 17th. Right, that's going to be, we're following everything kind of generally in the rules, other than a few small things like size of fish and type of fish. Other than that, everything else still applies. So we're 11th annual. My dog is barking.
Oh, that's
All
okay.
right. Yeah, 11th annual Elephant Butte tournament. Registration is Friday, so that's an in-person mandatory captains meeting. We usually have food. I do a walkthrough on all of our overview for Saturday, and overall, the Zia event is a different format, kind of than traditional, right? The Zia still allows white bass and live bait. Those don't apply for the Nation event, but historically it's almost always been won on a 5 fish stringer of black bass. It's never been won by another species, so that's kind of the trend. It's having both, but it's a great opportunity, and I think the Zia is the best event you can have. We average somewhere between 85 and 100 anglers in that event, so it's the biggest event annually. We're going to give out thousands and thousands of dollars, and I'm hopefully working through a Hobie contract to get a links again as well for first place. Hobie is in the process of being bought, so that might not happen, but I'm working on it.
Right, right. So you were saying, is Zia still going to host this? Are they doing all that, or did you completely take over the whole event? Like, are you the man in charge of this now?
So I'm the man in charge of it now. Russ is essentially he's still my partner. He's helping me with the little things, but I'm taking the full workload of the Zia. So registrations, um, entry fees, all of that's funneling into my side. The captain's meeting is now mine, and judging all the fish and the award ceremony. So basically, I'm managing the whole thing. I'm utilizing Russ's insurance for the Zia for the general public. I can't funnel that through the nation because we don't have them on roster. So that is the one caveat there. But we're gonna have Russ work with the state parks, get our day use passes for everybody that wants a single day use pass, and try to get vouchers and things like that, and do a goodie bag for everybody like we traditionally do at the Zia. So
Yeah.
getting all that worked out through Russ and myself. But yeah.
Okay. So do you plan on fishing your own event, or are you going to be the director on hand that is going to be sitting in front of that computer saying, "No, I don't like this fish"?
I will probably not get to fish either one of those. So have to sit by and judge fish, and I'll be judging nation or not nation. I'll have someone judge nation, and I'll be judging Zia. And then a big factor for anybody that is doing Elephant Butte Zia event, we are transitioning away from iAngler. That's new for the year. We're going to Tourney X. There's just a lot of technology issues associated with the androids that we're using, and it is more cumbersome than I think it's worth. So we're
Yeah.
gonna make that transition. I hope it doesn't hurt people or deter people from actually entering that event because we're still using applications. I do have some very traditional old school fishermen that like it, just give me my 5 photos and leave kind of thing. But the app just makes it better. I think I judged almost 600 fish last year,
Yeah.
um, or something. The white bass part of that is insane. So I need an app that's faster, more efficient, and a little bit easier to use. And as a director, we have all seen Tourney X, and it is the best for a director itself. So making that jump this year.
Yeah.
And it helps with us double dipping too. The nation's in Tourney X, so you can select both tournaments at the same time and then upload your submissions from there. So that makes it very nice.
I agree with that. I had a little trouble with iAngler last year and wasn't too pleased with it. I wound up having to spend like an hour trying to get it installed just to submit fish for that tournament.
Yeah.
Um, Alrighty, and if anybody has any questions for you about Zia, how would one contact you to get information or whatnot about that tournament?
Couple ways. I would say add me directly through my socials, like my Facebook account, Instagram account, message me there. Or if you need to call the store and get my contact information, Russ and the manager there are well aware, so they will pass that along and share my details. So um, use that method if you can, if you need to.
Okay, cool. Well,
And then I'm also managing the Zia page, so you'll start to see announcements coming out next week for that event. So follow the Zia Kayak Outfitters Facebook page. I manage that one as well. So
very
I'll
good.
post
And
it on Nation, and then we all share it kind of through our other avenues. So
yeah, then when it gets closer, we'll put a little bit more attention here on the podcast for you as well to make sure that event gets every bit of publicity that it deserves.
Yeah, I've learned that you don't publicize early because nobody pays attention, and about 2
No,
weeks
no.
before, everybody wants to pay attention and to
Yeah,
find
they're
out what
like,
stuff is.
what's the tournament? Next week. I don't care about 5 months from now. What's going on?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. So last year we had a young gentleman that come in and started creating havoc within the nation, and we reached out to him earlier this week and got him. He's sitting in our waiting room, kind of like sitting in a doctor's office right now. We got Anthony Barrera sitting waiting for us. Let's bring him on and see if we can pick his brain apart. Anthony, how you doing, sir?
Doing good.
Good. Congrats, bro, on that. What does that look like? A WWE AOY belt back there?
It is. It's a pretty big piece of hardware.
And also big congrats on the state championship as well.
Thank you.
So give us a little backstory of your introduction into bass fishing. Give us a little story of Anthony.
For the kayak, I've been fishing since I was a kid. I grew up in Artesia fishing down by Brantley, the Pecos, Black River. There's some nice fish in Black River. Did recreational fishing, and I thought I knew how to bass fish until I started fishing with you guys. My good friend Richard Ross got into kayak fishing. We did the first Zia kayak tournament, the 7th annual. We were talking about that in 2020. Got my butt kicked. I mean, there was a lot to learn: boat control, maneuvering, taking photos was a learning curve in the kayak. Did a couple more Zia tournaments, and then we got into the Eastern New Mexico. I did one season with that. It was great, great group of guys. And then luckily Matt started up Bass Nation. Pretty excited about that. Unfortunately, that first year, I think it was 2023 when we had that. I didn't get to make them all. Learned a lot. And then after that, I was like, all right, 2024, I'm going to put a lot of effort into it, and geared up and ended up getting a new kayak. And the first tournament ended up doing pretty good, and it was just a good season from the get-go.
Yeah. So Russ brought you into the kayak scene.
Yeah.
So you got your first toes dipped into the kayak series through. I don't think they're running any more series, which was the Eastern New Mexico kayak series, correct?
Correct. Yeah. My first one was the Zia. I think it's a great way to get into kayak fishing. A great group of people. Being able to catch white bass was really big. I know, like the 8th annual, I think I had 2 black bass and 2 white bass. I mean, it just helps with that mental part of fishing. Yeah. And then, so luckily, Matt's done a great job putting on a good series for us here in New Mexico.
Yeah, he's been busting his tail the last couple of years, going from basically nothing to something.
Yeah.
On top of that, he's got, a good handful of guys that's got his back as well. I think he's got a chair board of like 8 or 10 people now that are helping you out.
Yeah, I think you made number 7, I believe. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's the part. It's a nation is a place for everybody, but it's a group that's managed by anglers for the angler. At the end of the day, that's what it's meant to be. And every year we hope to put people on a national stage and give them recognition and show that New Mexico's here. So that's the goal.
Yeah, kind of like what we're trying to do for Anthony right now. We're kind of, Gene has stepped up, and we're doing a lot of things to try to get Anthony a little bit of extra fucking traveling money. We want to send somebody out there and be like, hey, New Mexico does put out top tier fishermen, which I do believe we have sitting here in New Mexico. We just haven't been able to put these anglers in that spotlight.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Gene did great at Havasu. 18th. I mean, that there were a lot of good anglers, a lot of locals too. And he kicked a lot of their butts out there. So we got a lot of great anglers. Matt, Robert, Ross. I mean, there are a lot of good anglers.
Yeah,
You,
and
Chris, they're running.
you talk on that same subject, Anthony. I don't know how many tournaments me and you were neck and neck, and I never knew that we were competing for a quarter of an inch.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would get ready, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, Chris beat me by a quarter inch today and knocked me out of third place, and it was it was close. It was a really close season last year.
Yeah. Well, give us a little bit of journey of your 2024 season. Like, what were some of your great successes, and what were some of your like, oh crap, this kind of sucks moments?
So the first tournament at Butte, we canceled Sumner due to wind. So our first one was the Butte, and so happened we had talked about it at Havasu. My graph, I lost it, got stolen. I didn't have a graph for Butte for the first tournament. I had no electronics, nothing. And I was like, all right, I just got to go where I think fish are going to be. And it worked out. I was looking at the photos, and there was an hour and a half window of bite for that tournament. And that's where I got them. And I ended up taking second. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. And then just a couple more tournaments, did a couple pretty good. And then I think, what was it? Navajo. I didn't do so good at Navajo. That was a tough one for me. I had 3 fish that I was able to turn in. And then I talked to you guys. I ended up catching one on a rat that foul hooked that I wasn't able to submit, which was a heartbreaker. It was a good fish. 4 fish would have put me way ahead on that tournament. So that was a heartbreaker. But the big fish for the season, I caught a 19. That was a highlight right there.
Yeah. Which lake did you pull that out of?
What's that?
What lake did you pull the 19 out
That
of?
was at you.
You.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it
that was at the championship, right?
No, that was not at the championship. That was you event, the second day of you.
Yeah, that was qualifiers 2 and 3, I believe, or maybe 4 and 5.
I think it was 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sweating my britches off when the Summoner come around, because I had never fished those lakes, so I was like sweating bullets over here. So you also fished the National Havasu tournament, Anthony. Do you think what you've learned and what you experienced from that national event, fishing Lake Havasu, meeting other people through that event, do you think that in turn will help you as an angler fishing here in New Mexico and traveling elsewhere?
Oh, absolutely. It was a whole new different type of fishing out there, weather-wise, moving water, clarity. I had never fished in that kind of water. So it was a big learning curve. Unfortunately, started figuring out a little too late, but definitely learned some new techniques, and it opened up my eyes going to Lake Fork. I gotta get more tools in my tackle box. I gotta be more diversified and be ready to change with the weather, different conditions, water levels, and I just got to be ready to adapt to the environment.
Yeah, well, at your plethora of advice and stuff that we can offer you, there's 3 of us that have fished Fork quite a few times. Use everything at your disposal until that information cutoff line comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, if I read the rules right, I can get information all the way up to practice is the way I read that. I cannot talk to a guide within 20 days, I believe is what it was.
Yep.
So Yeah, once that was another learning thing I learned at Havasu is the communication. They had a no communication, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
The
So
whole
like if you go into a bait store and they start talking to you about it, you have to like can't do that. You know what I mean? You don't want to solicit that information.
yeah.
But on top of that, now there are some sources on YouTube that you can utilize when that timeline comes up.
Mhm.
There's things you can do on YouTube because it's all considered public information.
Yeah.
And it's not your fault that these guides put their information on YouTube.
Mhm.
So kind of keep that in mind that, you know, when you get to Fork, there are some guides that put out daily videos
Yeah.
that you should be utilizing.
Yeah. And then during that time, it sounds like talking to you all and watching YouTube that it's going to be bed fishing, which I've never done. I've never experienced that. And fishing at Havasu was pretty similar to that because we could see them, and
Mhm.
it was a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much what you did at Havasu, you'll do on their bed.
Mm-hmm.
You'll eventually figure out bonking them in the head, what if they want to bite.
So, Anthony, I got a question for you. Has it set in that you're fishing for 25,000, maybe even plus, at the championship?
It's starting to set in. I'm gonna take this moment to thank you for helping me get there. Really appreciate everybody. Our Bass Nation here in New Mexico is by far, hands down, the best. Great group of guys. With that, it just drives me even more to bring that trophy. I think that blue trophy, I get it now. Seeing those trophies out there at Havasu and being able to hold it up would be a dream come true, and to be able to bring it home to New Mexico would just be awesome. I think that's more. Yeah, 25, man, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. But to be able to represent New Mexico and say, yeah, we can fish would be a huge accomplishment. That's what I'm looking forward to, is to represent us. But yeah, it's starting to set in how big that stage is.
Yeah. Then just imagine how big that stage is going to be when you're actually up there holding that trophy. Excited for that for sure.
I and after Havasu, I'm pretty much locked into going to 10 Killer, Oklahoma, and Toledo Bend.
Okay.
I think I'm going to follow in your footsteps, Gene. I'm going to do my best to get in. I believe it's the top 5 get a automatic spot for nationals.
Yeah, he's it's kind of been jumped around quite a bit. At one point it was like 2 or 3, and then I've heard as much up to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So I just kind of always assume that kind of top 5 get an auto in. And I think they do allow roll downs if they're in that 50 percentile, from my understanding. So I was looking at it like if I got in the top 60, I might still have a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my goal, is to get a blue trophy at one of those 2 events. That way we can get more representation after state to go to nationals.
And talking about more representation, Matt, you feel like this year we're going to have a pretty good field, probably in comparison to the last 2, right?
I feel like it. That's kind of the way it's trending. I mean, I still am seeing more and more people reach out and ask for information and, what they need and things like that. So, I mean, the trend is right. I mean, I'm hoping we average 30 people an event this year. And if we do that, state will give us 30. That'll take 3 to the nationals at the end of it. And then hopefully, like, if we have this many people traveling within our region of the country, I mean, there's going to be an opportunity for us to do some of that. And like you said, Toledo Bend, 10 Killer, all those are good options for us. And hopefully that helps at the end of the day. So yeah, it's going to be better for us, like state wise too, because if we get 3 and a couple of us find our way into that top 5% or that top 5 or AOY stuff, because I think AOY is only 3 events for Bassmaster.
Yeah, it's your 3. I think it's your 3 best.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know Havasu wasn't great on anybody, but I mean, it also wasn't bad when you only have 111 guys in the field. Like your points are staggered off of there versus like, the 230 that was at Florida. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you still got better points than what most people would come away with. So it's not unrealistic if you just get 3 events in and you just go catch fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there.
Grab that 5 bag limit and then do your best to call out.
Exactly.
That would be my standing to those events. Like if you're trying to grab points to roll over, go grab the quickest 5 you can, then go hunt for the big ones.
That's all it is. I mean, I think traveling nationally, or when we say national, I think there's an intimidation or like a factor that comes with that stage. And it's really not an intimidation factor. It's just you get there and you see something new, you might not be comfortable, and you kind of talk yourself out of fishing who you are or the way you like to fish is what I've experienced. I mean, the reason I've succeeded nationally is because I went and did what I was best at. And I didn't let anybody else's decision change what I did. And I think that's really all it is. Now, Havasu is kind of like a outlier because, I mean, if you can see 40 feet, I think that's the lake's fault. But traditionally,
I don't even think our lakes are 40 feet, so that we were already out of our game.
yeah. But if you go back and, I mean, this is always something that's fun. Like, I think there's someone every year that picks every national trail and does a stat on what it took to get a check in those events. And on average, it's like 13-inch average for 5 fish was the minimum. So if you caught 5 13-inchers in every national event, you almost cut a check. So the key is catching fish, not talking yourself into catching 5 22-inch fish.
Mhm. I agree. So we got a question in the comments here, real quick, that I guess we can touch on real quick. Tommy wants to know what we think about this crazy weather right now. I think Gene's probably got the biggest opinion on this right now, being up there by Eagle Nest.
Yeah,
Last week you can go out there and ice fish, and now they got it closed off because now they can't even get on the water.
yeah, within like a week, man, they closed it off. So everybody, they canceled their tournament in January. They have a big ice fishing tournament here. And literally the other day, so I think they opened it last Monday, they closed it yesterday, and it was 50, 60 degrees here the other day. So I'm like, I'm ready to take the boat and go put it in the water. And especially like down, they just opened up the gas pumps, I think, down at Ute. So I was looking at that and I was like, all right, well, it must be getting really warm down there. So if that water gets above 50 degrees, I'm down to go fishing.
Oh yeah, I'd go out there if they let me put my boat on ice. Gene, right now, do you know what the ice thickness is on Eagle?
I don't. When they said they measured when they approved people to go out there, they said it was at 10 inches. But I've looked at their photos, and obviously I'd look out the window and see the lake, and there's standing water on top of the ice right now. So, ice fishing's not really my thing. I mean, I've enjoyed it the few times I've went, especially like when it's this year. Those mild years are nice because you don't have to jump through snow. The wind's not too bad. But the problem is, obviously, like right now, it's not really safe for people to be out there.
Right. And part of this whole weather thing, I don't know if anybody here in chat or on the podcast live now follow Red Oak Outdoors, but he just slammed a 5-pounder at the Butte yesterday.
Oh yeah, that thing was huge.
Yeah, he was out there.
I think it was 5+.
Yeah, it was like 5.2, 5.4.
Yeah, that was a nice fish.
But for a 5-pounder at this time of year to hit a crankbait, that's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
I'm kind of excited. Not gonna lie, I'll probably go out there Thursday and see what's happening.
Yeah, I heard that the Butte is like 40 degrees right now.
Yeah, it's trending up.
Yeah.
So go out there.
It'd be perfect for the tournament coming up.
Yeah, they should be pushing up to start doing their Humpty Dumpty dance.
Yeah.
So Anthony, again, we forgot to mention this. Happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday.
You had mentioned some of your 2025 thoughts and opinions of what you're going to do nationally. what are your plans and thoughts running through 2025 between local and state bass nation tournaments? What are your goals and achievements for that?
Um, your tournament is awesome. I like the format. You changed it up. It's going to be different. I think last cast is at 10 p.m. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
10
sir.
p.m. I think it's like 5 best fish out of 2 days, which is a really cool format. I like how you're changing it up. It's
Yeah.
mixing it up a little bit. I like we have one coming up in February, and I'm glad I went to Havasu, and I'm going to be able to do your tournament in February before I go to Lake Fork. I got a lot of rust off at Havasu. I didn't realize how much rust built up, and just being out of sync and gear. And I got the new the motor on there, which was awesome. That was game changer. Got a new graph, so I'll be running a graph this year. That was a big game changer with side scan. Not quite at forward facing sonar yet. Maybe next year or this year, if I win some tournaments, I'll be able to get that.
Yeah. Just remember, win $1,000 and go buy you an Eagle 9. That'll get you started.
Yeah. But gonna be definitely doing your February one. Unfortunately, I'll be traveling back, hopefully with the blue trophy on your second tournament. And then I'm doing all of the New Mexico Bass Nation tournaments. And then the 2 national ones, 10 Killer and Toledo Bend.
Toledo Bend.
That, yeah. But I'm right there with Matt. I want to get our numbers up. I think my goal would be to try to get 30 people in state tournament.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you all on that. What do you think's holding people back from doing tournaments?
As in dedication wise or financially?
Or just in general? Like, do you think it's a financial thing? Or do you think it's
Honestly, I think it's part of the fact that, they're like, well, I'm going to spend, X amount of dollars, because, my tournaments, they're $150, right? And
Mhm.
if you want to attend Big Bass, that's an additional 20, then you have to pay the $7 fee to use Tourney X.
Mhm.
So you're pushing that $200 mark. If you fish nationally, you're already up above that $200 mark.
Mhm.
What was it? 100 and something for nation. I don't remember what it was. So let's just do a blanket cast. If it's going to cost you $150 an event, then they're thinking, well, now I have to pay that. I got to find a place to lay my head down because God forbid somebody know how to truck camp or throw a tent up. But now they have gas and food. So they start thinking about that and they're like, you know what? It's not worth it. If bass fishing is your like dream and you want to do it, you'll find every way to get there. You know what I mean? Like if it means I'm going to eat ramen noodles 2 weeks leading up to an event, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? But I think financially, most people are like, I can't afford this. We just had a kid. I've got bills coming up. Because if you think about it, a lot of people right now are living paycheck to paycheck,
Mhm.
and they can't just shell out, $500 to $1,000 to go travel for a week.
Yeah.
And personally, that's what I believe that it comes down to.
I'll add to that. I mean, I think the other part of it is just New Mexico is a state in general that lacks in its outdoor recreational resources. So a lot of times the thing I hear about is I was, assistant director of Eastern. So we did all of those years and then I did Nation. And every day I have someone says, I didn't even know there was a kayak trail in New Mexico. I just found you guys. Someone shared something this
Yep.
week. And I think that resource of just people love to bass fish, but they don't know that there's an avenue for their kayak to be successful. Because I mean, yeah, it's Chris said it's hard to balance. I don't want to pay a $40 entry fee and you pay me back 80 if I get third, or not even my $40 back if I get third. So I want my return to be there, and that's a hard balance because I mean it is a
Mhm.
state that's tough financially.
Yeah.
And we have to travel a lot. It's not like there's 10 lakes within region. Like for me, Navajo was almost an 8-hour drive last year.
Yeah.
That's tough to be within my own state and still drive 8 hours. So just some of that stuff. But
Yeah.
we're getting better. The word's getting out, and every time we get a new kayaker, they bring a friend, and that friend brings a friend,
Yep.
and we're getting there. And I think consistency and information being delivered through these resources better over the last few years has really helped too. Inconsistencies, untraditional, rulings on things, all of those things deter people. And I think we've just been consistent in improving. So, I mean, that's what my hope is just get better at the time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's kind of like me and Gene when we were talking about, starting this podcast. Like, it's unbelievable the amount of emails, text messages, and Facebook messages that I've been getting just running one episode of this podcast. But like, bro, we didn't even know that these tournaments existed. Like,
Mhm.
I've had this kayak sit in my backyard for 3 years. I can actually go bass tournament fishing this thing off of one episode of a podcast because it was shared. I believe we shared it to a Facebook page called New Mexico Fishing, and they got 40,000 people involved in this page. And it like blew up. People are like, oh, we didn't know this was a thing. Like, we're trying.
Yeah, this is a great format that y'all are doing to get the word out about it.
Yeah. Then next week we're going to bring in old Sean from his tournament. He went to Florida. Unfortunately, day one was kind of a struggle, but he put 5 fish in the boat day 2, so he's learning how to do those tournaments.
Yeah, and that's the thing that national stuff will do to you. It'll make you figure out how to kind of, you got to develop on the run. So you got to change with the conditions you're being presented. We kind of get used to having certain dates. We know our home lake's going to be doing this usually during this time of the year, but when you get out nationally, you're kind of fish out of water out there coming from a state like us. So anything that we can do to help our anglers out.
Yeah. So I've got another question for Anthony. It's going to be picking your brain. We're going to divert back to our state championship fish off, right? So
Yep.
it was a 2-lake split, right? So day
Mhm.
1 we fished one lake, day 2 we fished another.
Mhm.
Can you kind of walk us through of what led you to like break down them lakes, what techniques you were using, kind of how you kind of figured out what you figured out?
Oh, y'all got to experience my logic.
You can lie to him, Anthony. You don't have to tell him the truth.
I was gonna say y'all saw it firsthand. I was so indecisive, just like on state. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. It was tough. I think we pre-fished, and it was a struggle. It was really tough, and I was like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go this way. And funny story on the tournament. I don't know if I ever told you this, Matt, but I went out and I ended up fishing near gosh dang it, Gardy and Victor. And I asked him, hey, where are you going to be at? And he told me where. So I went around and I ended up catching a fish right off the bat. Did good and just wasn't as big as I wanted. And I went to go get tackle. I have storage under my seat, and I had left all my tackle in the truck. And I was 45 minutes. I took that whole morning to get to the spot. And all right. So I was like, I'm going to just stick with what I got. But it kind of goes back to what Matt was saying. You got to stick with your strengths. And I had what I felt was working throughout the season. And it worked out. But I think the first day I was in 4th or 5th place. We had a kid out of I forget his name. He had a huge fish. I think it was like a 22-inch fish.
Noah.
Noah.
Yep.
And I think he had a 8-inch lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be tough. And going into you on the second day, I went to a point close to where I caught that big 19-inch fish. And that morning, I actually saw Matt that morning. He was cruising around in his Newport, And one of the reasons I decided to get one, he made it look so easy out there cruising back and forth. First spot didn't pan out. I had a follower, came up, turned around, went back down, didn't get anything. It was slow. That first morning was real slow. I had 2 fish. I was like, I need 3 more. And I went to some trees and I'd never been so excited, but I caught 12 and a half and a 12 and 3/4. And I was ecstatic that I had a bag. I was just happy as could be. Went and caught another one. And then it was getting close to the end of the day. I can't remember what time the cutoff of the leaderboard was. But I could see Matt was beating me by 8-9 inches. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I got an hour. Like, man, this is going to, I struggled to get these 5 fish and it's taking me all day. I kid you not, the last from 2:30 to 2:45, right before last cast, I caught my 2 biggest fish of the day. And it can happen quick.
Yeah.
And never give up.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, like that tournament we were talking about earlier where I snuck in that 1/4 inch on you.
Yep.
I wound up catching my best 3 fish within 45 minutes of the deadline. And I sat on that spot for 2 hours. And the last 2 biggest fish that I caught that put me over, literally, I just let it soak. I just throw it out there and be like, God, please be something there. And just let it sit. And the longer I let it sit, the bigger the fish that would come in and grab it.
The 3rd place, I can't remember which event it was, but my 3rd place this year, I culled a fish for 1/4 of an inch, would put me in 3rd. I mean, it was the last 15 minutes of the day. And I was right there. And you just got to fish to the end.
Yeah. I agree.
But finishing up the day, it was really cool when the leaderboard cleared out because I had no idea. I knew I did okay. I saw that Matt was ahead, and I didn't know if anybody else hadn't put in their fish yet. So, man, I was a ball of nerves going into that.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, when I seen those leaderboards get turned off, I fish even harder because I'm like, I was sitting in whatever place, and I was like, I need like 3/4 of an inch, and I'll just sit there and fish as hard as I can.
I needed 8. I was like, man, I am way behind.
Yeah. Well, he had a good day 1, but he kind of fell off the boat day 2.
Yep. Yeah, it was tough fishing. I mean, I think everybody grinded for every fish, for every inch on those 2 days. It was not easy fishing.
Miguel, but I'm a sandbagger, Chris. That's why I hate you. I only sandbagged 1 tournament, and that was a Elephant Butte Derby series. And I really didn't sandbag. I told everybody I caught 2 fish. I just forgot to mention the other 3. Yep.
Matt, to your knowledge, are we the only state that allow or does the championship on 2 lakes?
As far as I know, yeah, that's something that's traditionally not like common that I know of.
Right.
So, yeah, as far as I know, and I think that was the advisory committee suggested that in 23, and we ran with it, and then everybody was like, I love the format of that. It removes the home favorite or that traditional like who's on them situation, and you can't commit to 2 lakes as well. I mean, and they both fished fairly differently in my opinion.
For sure.
I mean, for example, Noah catching the biggest stringer of the season on the first day of the championship. I'm like, oh, this dude's locked it up. And then he only catches 5 12-inchers and misses the wind, misses the cut, misses it all coming to the end of the day. So, I mean, and it was really good to see. I thought it was really cool at the end of the year, too, because doing AOY, that belt behind Anthony, he deserved it. But like when you talk about consistency amongst anglers and that level of competition we brought with our camaraderie and our friendship included and stays intact, 1 fish decided the entire AOY, and it was basically between 3 people at the end of it, which it was Jeff, O'Brien, and then Anthony. But basically between them 2, if Jeff catches a fish, he wins by 1 point, and him not catching it was Anthony. So overall. I think they caught 39 fish out of a 40 bag limit, both of them, or 38. And Jeff caught 39. And then Anthony had one better finish than Jeff, a second place versus a third. So their points were insane. And it was really cool to watch that transpire throughout the year because it was very competitive.
Yeah, last year was one of my funnest tournaments that I've fished in New Mexico since I've started. Anthony, another question for you. If there's anybody here in chat that wants to follow your journey for the 2025 season, how would one follow you or whatnot?
As far as social,
Yes, sir.
I've been trying to post more on Instagram and Facebook. NM Hunter. I'm trying to push and get the word out, like we talked about earlier. We just got a great group of guys. Everybody helps everybody. That's all I got right now.
Okay. Do you plan on starting a YouTube channel, or do you think that's going to be just more time that you'd have to commit?
I didn't realize how much time putting up just even posts from Havasu, putting pictures, and then just editing and things like that. I might look into it. I don't plan on starting a YouTube anytime soon, but definitely want to promote New Mexico bass fishing and be posting a lot more this season. Right before the tournaments today, reminded everybody that registration is open for the February tournament for New Mexico kayak bass fishing.
Yes, sir.
I registered for that this morning. Looks like we got 3 already. So
4. We got 4 as of right now. I think it's going to be within those 3 days leading up to it. It's when we're going to start hitting in.
I noticed in hearing from the directors, everybody's always worried until like the last 2 days. Everybody starts registering for those tournaments.
So behind the theory of why I did what I did of having a cash entry fee over doing everything over Tourney X was, say for instance, you register for my event and aren't able to attend. That kind of sucks for you, right?
Yeah.
Now it's okay. I'm paying for the app, but if I can't make that event, now you're only out that $7.
No, that's the big thing, especially for the national. I almost didn't make it to nationals, or not nationals, Havasu. Something came up with family, and I was just going to have to eat that entry fee. And then going for the nationals, I dedicated to it, and I put up the money already. That was a $400 entry fee for nationals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. It's a big commitment.
Alrighty, well, it looks like we've rolled up to about that hour window of what we have to talk about. Anthony, do you want to add anything to what we've talked about tonight?
Yeah, another plug for our tournaments this season. Get out there and fish. Like I said, I didn't have a graph. I had my kayak, my rods, and that was it. Just get out there and fish. I know everything's going towards forward-facing sonar. You have 3 screens. I didn't have a motor. I didn't have any electronics.
And you put all that on the wall with none of that?
I didn't have any of that.
Yeah, one of my first tournaments I ever fished was a Zia kayak tournament in a paddle boat with 2 rods in my hand.
Yeah, that's only my closing. Just get out and fish, and if you need help, everybody's here to help you out. If you have any questions or need gear or something, let us know.
For sure. Matt, do you need to add anything, or are we good?
No, I won't add anything additional. I'll just say, for anybody that this makes it to, we want you to fish, experience New Mexico Bass Nation or New Mexico kayak bass fishing as much as you can. Reach out to us here or any of our platforms. I know you're going to drop all of our information, Chris. So, yeah, we just want to see everybody come out, enjoy it. You don't have to be, you can be a beginner, experienced, whatever it is. It's nothing that we haven't seen. So we want everybody to be a part of this, grow the sport. grow the community, because that is something I think that I personally feel like New Mexico holds very near and dear, is the community of anglers that we have together. I use the word family pretty regularly when I'm talking about who we are as a community and as a trail, which sounds kind of weird to have a bunch of random people, but it is part of what we do. So if you have resources, questions, let us know. Anthony, to you and Matt, I know we're talking to you directly, but you guys go kill it at Lake Fork. As always, we're here as a resource for you as well. That stage is very big. Lake Fork is very demanding, and it can throw you out of a comfort level pretty quickly. So if you need anything from us, let us know. Hopefully, we get to talk about it a little bit more before you go. But yeah, it's going to be a combination of a lot of things happening at Lake Fork in March. It's going to be insane. So if you walk across that stage, just know I'll be there in person.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm going to try to facilitate a Zoom meeting where we can bring in Anthony and Matt. Then we'll bring a plethora of people into this Zoom meeting and try to get you an overload of information and stuff prior to that event.
That sounds great. Yeah, I got some questions. I've been watching things, and then after fishing Havasu, and yeah, I'm gonna do everything I can. I plan on pre-fishing the full 5 days. I already got my vacation in, so I'll be doing everything I can.
Yeah. So Tommy Salisbury, real quick, says, "Why don't we start a GoFundMe to help you, Anthony?" Just a quick comment to Tommy is, GoFundMe is a great way to do it. Gene has stepped up. If you see behind him now, he's got some Arctic boxes. All of those are going to be part of a giveaway that we're doing through the Outdoor Expo and whatnot, through the sale of tickets, and we're going to try to get what we can rounded up for funds for Anthony. So we're doing what we can. I'm not a big fan of the GoFundMe.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. I appreciate the idea. Gene, is this from your company that you're doing the Arctic from Cooper's? Is it Cooper's Fishing Club or?
Yeah, so that's where I'm going to run it through. I mean, honestly, I'm not a rep for or a dealer for Arctic. This is something that we've had success on in the past with coolers, other brands at the expo.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of had a deal going on. So I got like 10 total items from Arctic. There's 4 coolers overall. We're going to give one away each day of the expo. And there's also like an Arctic type cup. And then the ultimate package, we're going to give away I think the 4th of March, we're going to give away the biggest cooler that I have. And then there's like 4 or 5 other little things in there that come from Arctic to give away. And that's how we're going to try to come up with the funds. It's worked in the past, and hopefully it works again this time. But we rely a lot on the expo, and then guys, of course, selling there. And we actually are letting people who, you don't have to buy a ticket. Yeah. You can enter by just subscribing. If you let us know, we'll give you a ticket. If you say, "Hey, I'm subscribed to the channel," we'll stick a ticket in there. So,
yeah, to broaden that up, is what he was saying is if you subscribe to the podcast here. So if you come up and say, "Yeah, I subscribe to the podcast," I'll have a list of current people that are subscribed, and if you're on the list, we're going to hand you a ticket. And I spoke with Gene last night that we had come up with another little fun idea that we're going to do in Dead on Baits, which is a company that I own. We're going to bring out a toss bag thing, and we're going to let people pay $1 to see if they can pitch a lure into a hole, and if they get in there, they win baits. But all proceeds from that little fun game are going to go straight to you, Anthony.
Thank you.
I'm going to clean that game out.
Yep. I even put a deal in there. We'll give you like 10 or 20 pitches for like $20 or something.
You better put an asterisk on there that you have a restriction on winning prizes X over, so many times.
Right. So it's $1 a pitch. So if you want to do more than one pitch, it's going to cost you $1 for every time you throw that lure.
Yeah. And the expo's February 14th
through the 16th. Yes.
Through the 16th.
Yeah. And we're going to have, so I'll be in the booth with Chris. And I'm going to have I should have some Yak Attack products there too. And I'm going to have some lithium batteries. So if you guys want to come check those out, we'll have those there to play with.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to get with you. I'll be there with you guys Friday, Saturday, Sunday as well. And
Okay.
I need to place an order with you, Gene.
Okay. And just to let everybody know kind of where we're at within the layout of the expo, we're in booth number 7, which is literally right across from the Bass Nation booth again. So we'll be able to work conjunction with, I believe, Matt is coordinated with a couple of guys from his committee to be at the Bass Nation booth. So we'll literally be right across the aisle from them. So we'll be able to facilitate between the two booths. So we'll be in booth number 7.
Yeah, sorry, everybody's watching me deal with the whole family, but yeah, Nation will be there. I'll be at the Zia booth as well. So we got a whole gamut of things Nation related and kayak related. So we got you guys over there, Zia Kayak Outfitters as well, and then Blues Baits as well. So I'll be bouncing around all over the expo. So if you need me, I'll be there all 3 days as well.
Okay, perfect. Real quick before we end this, if nobody else in chat has any questions for Anthony or Matt, I believe Cooper's Fishing Club has put together a little giveaway for tonight. Let me share that. Boom.
While y'all are doing that, fellas, I'm gonna jet for the night. Thank y'all for having me on. So sorry, I gotta cut ties for the night.
See
All right.
you, Matt.
Thanks again, Matt. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, fellas. Talk to y'all soon.
Yeah.
Anthony, if you type a comment in there, we'll let you throw in the giveaway as well. If you
smart.
need that for your winning bait there at Fork. We'll just give them a couple of minutes. If there's somebody in here that hasn't commented, just drop a comment. You'll be able to enter that. And there's no secret baits you want to tell us about? Something juicy? Something we can think about?
What I'm gonna try to learn, I need to be those finesse jigs seem to be working pretty good at Havasu. So I need to. I think you had one that worked really well that you made, right?
Yep, made them right there at the table that night. Yeah.
Yep. So that's I think gonna be pretty killer this year.
Yeah. So like I told you when we were up there, Dead on Baits is standing behind you. So if there's something that you need, please just reach out to us. We're more than happy to send whatever we can to you. We just got a bunch of stuff to do a little bit heavier football jigs as well.
Yep.
And I don't know if you follow us on social media, but we are releasing a bait this year at the expo. I'll give you a little preview. So if you want to get your hands on those, there's going to be limited quantities and colors. These will be available firsthand at the expo. Other than that, if you message me about them, I'm going to tell you to come see me at the expo. They're a little bit on the expensive side. They do catch fish. I'm going to try to have a video put up beforehand. They're $10 a box. They're kind of a pain in the butt to make, but they do catch fish. All right, let's draw this winner here real quick.
Corey's in here giving away information.
Yeah, well, that's part of the show. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick draw.
Oh, man, we had quite a few.
What?
Fucking Sean.
Mr. Show up at the last second.
Right.
All right, John. You want me to draw again? I don't know if okay. Said draw again. He don't want it.
It's because there's no snakes or sparklers in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say he if there was a 12-inch snake in there, he would have been all over it.
There we go. Corey Scott. He's probably thinking to himself, I can't throw none of that in Florida. All right.
Yes, Miguel, it is rigged.
It's rigged. It's all Sean's fault. It's all Sean's fault. But no, Sean literally told us to draw again. We got Corey Scott as a winner. Corey, I should be up in your neck of the woods Thursday. If you would like me to meet you somewhere up and around there, shoot me a DM and we'll figure out how we want to get it to you. But I think that's going to do it for us this evening. I've got no more questions. Again, happy birthday and congrats on everything you've done in 2024. We're super proud of you. We're trying our best to get you some funds to get you to Fork and pull one of them trophies home for us here in New Mexico.
Thank you. I'm gonna put everything I can into it.
So, Gene, if you got nothing else, we're gonna go ahead and shut this thing down. Again, Anthony, we appreciate you coming in, talking to us, and I guess keep them lines tight, and we'll see everybody later.
See ya. Thanks.
All right. Gino left the room. All right, guys. Thanks again for coming in. We appreciate y'all. Have a good night and keep them lines tight.